So this is going to be the cage area. So it's definitely brand new. We just moved stuff around yesterday. It was originally a whole shelving unit, so we did have another shelf right here that was full of kind of just odd and end product, like all the bulky stuff, like some of the plate carriers that you see here. They don't really move around too much. I mean, they just don't sell all that well. So this is like the backstock. We have entire tubs of those guys, multiple tubs of those, and then we have these back here as what couldn't fit in those tubs. So that was originally what was right here. We moved that shelf over to another area, which I'll show you, because there's another problem with that. But we just moved it over there because that just allows us to put more gun boxes on, so we can bring in more stuff that isn't our standard brands. As you can probably tell as well, here's the gimbal. Pretty excited to try this out. Watched a couple different YouTubers utilize it. Probably hear the truck in the background as well. You know, that's just one of the characteristics of having a recording space back by a receiving area. You know, it just adds a little something. So, ideally, I would like to have an entire warehouse of just having product photography and video stuff, and I would like to have a lot of fun with that. Unfortunately, I don't have an entire warehouse dedicated to just doing video-based stuff or photography-based stuff, so make do with what we have, right? And so that's what we have going on. It's going to change definitely a lot. I definitely want to put some better lights in here, flat background, something that isn't a roly-poly desk thing, and maybe not a shelving unit. But that's what we got as of right now. You can probably hear maybe some bandsaws going on in the background. That's not us, but I will be doing some sawing here in a couple minutes. Reason being, oh, it is really dark back here. That's a little better. So reason being is we have this shelving unit, which came from the new recording area, the gear room, or gear cage. We're gonna call it the gear cage. That just sounds cooler, in my opinion. So this is the shelf that came from that area. Obviously, the actual depth of the shelf itself was significantly deeper than the new shelving rack that we put it on. So we need to take these out, cut them down to the proper length, and then flip them around, because we'll be cutting these, I guess, nicer end off. So we want the nicer ends here so we don't possibly cut any boxes or anything. So flip it around, make it a little nicer. You guys will probably see that in a couple minutes. And then we have to do the same thing, but for the shelving units that were installed right there, right at the end of my fingers, so the white ones. We got to get some of those grids, as far as like the shelves, cut them down to the proper length, and then slide them in so we have extra shelving space. And I forgot that I started to install that, but didn't get around to finishing it because I went on vacation. So, catching up on projects. That'll be our before shot. Do a couple slow-mos. Random transition, but we're gonna paint this wall. Well, not we, but me. Because honestly, I just get tired of looking at the red and the white and the weird splotchy overcoating. Just doesn't look good. So we're gonna transform this whole block of wall into a satin black. That's going to hopefully make everything a little bit cleaner, a little bit more crisp. And it'll complement some of the picture stuff I'm planning to do in the next couple of weeks. So this is not my picture, at least the picture that I have taken, but I like the aesthetic, and I'm going to try to pull some inspiration, take some of my pictures, blow them up, get them professionally printed, and hang them up on the wall here. I think paired with a clean matte black frame, it'll look a little clean as well. So that's another project that we have for today. Always transforming, always moving around. In fact, we spent the last week moving a bunch of shit over on that side of the wall, reorganizing all of the gun boxes and where stuff is going to be sitting. So I think you guys probably have been seeing that a little bit. But let's tackle this. Now, like with most things, there is going to be a point where we are making adjustments, making changes just for the sake of doing it. And at some point, it's not going to be super beneficial because we're just going through the movements or having the habit of making changes and shuffling stuff around. But have we gotten to the point as a storefront or as a product warehouse where we're making changes just to make changes? Absolutely not. We are still a ways away before we get to that point. There are always things that we can expand and improve upon. For example, here's a picture of what the warehouse back behind me looked like before we started moving stuff in. Pretty bare and pretty empty. So the fact that we're making all these changes and these adjustments, and we are going through the steps in the process of having more shelving available to bring more product in, organizing all of the older stuff that we have gone through, which still a little wet. So imagine it with me for just a second. Clean, black wall. Desk. Right where it needs to go. Sword. I'm thinking here, or maybe here. I want to get a couple more swords. So maybe swords here or interlaid in a couple spots here. That's what I'm thinking so far. And then big pictures. I'm thinking big picture here, big picture here, and then for reference, maybe a smaller picture here, a smaller picture here, and then several smaller pictures, bam, bam, bam. Somewhere laid out over there. That's what I've got thinking in my mind right now. But it's all gonna change once I get the stuff printed out and see what the color spectrum's gonna look like. But it's still wet, still a little tacky. I don't want to put frames and stuff on the wall because then it's going to stick to the frames and then it's going to crack off and peel and it's going to be really, really gross, and we just don't want that. So we're going to hold up and putting stuff up right now. This needs to go away before I stack the shit out of something.